Hello and welcome back to the Newark Debater. I am your alumni host, Malcolm Miner, and today we are going to talk about going full circle. Okay. Now, while alumni retention is usually an issue for organizations, in debate, it seems that it is not a problem. Most of our alumni consider those they meet in debate family and often return to help. We have seen generations of siblings pass through our program, each with a myriad of testimonials as to how their lives were affected by the activity. Although, since the pandemic began, students haven't been able to travel at all to tournaments before this year. Our debaters were being sent all over the country, growing and bonding in new ways that they would have remembered for a lifetime. Now, today's episode is unlike any other. Why? I'll tell you. This is the first time we will be interviewing someone that not only is an alumni of debate, but a coach, debate parent, and a board member. Christian Oshiro has one of the most holistic perspectives of the debate world we could possibly ask for. And we are grateful to have him here today. So, everyone, help me welcome Chris. There we are. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Hope my background's not too busy. Otherwise, I really couldn't make it work anywhere else in the house. Like there's like 100 people in my house now, right?
Don't worry about it. It's totally fine. That's totally fine. So, well, let's get right into it. So let's start. Chris, tell us, where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from North Newark, and basically near the Cathedral of Barringer High School. Prior to that, I was born in Peru, immigrated to the States, but I'm a Newark kid. Raised up in all the schools, middle school, high school, and also NJIT collegiately.
Oh, nice. So what made you start debate in the first place?
So it was kind of happenstance, frankly. I was in grade school. So seventh grade, I decided to join the debate team. I really enjoyed it. I did it for 2 years. It was nothing too intense, but I really enjoyed it. And we had about a couple of debates a year. And in doing so, my sister at the time was attending Science High School, right? And I made a side, I mentioned to her, I'm really enjoying this whole debate thing, right, in eighth grade. And she told me, hey, you know what? There happens to be a pretty good team at Science. And then I did a little bit of research, and it kind of like snowballed from there.
Oh, nice. Okay, so tell us, once you got to Science and you were on the debate team, did you have any fond memories of joining or just how it happened to become for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I loved my experience as a debater. I remember going to school really not knowing a whole lot of folks, right? Because Science High School then and still was a magnet school. So I knew just a handful of folks that were originally from my school. But I joined the first debate, kind of like an interest meeting, if you will. It was a room full of a lot of people. The coach at that time was Brent Frand, and he was kind of presenting, hey, we're going to debate this topic. Everyone who believes in this topic, move to this side of the room. Everyone who doesn't, move to this side of the room. And it was just two people who moved to this side of the room. And it was me and Alan. He ends up being my debate partner for 2.5 years. One of the best men in my, wedding party. So made long friendships, in those experiences.
That is beautiful. It's always beautiful to hear how the family that this community has fostered. It's just so inspiring. So then, how can I say this? What about your fondest memory as a debate coach? No longer as a student, but as a coach, and then maybe as a parent.
Well, it's interesting because after I graduated from high school and I was attending NJIT, which is really just a couple blocks from Science High School at the time, I was asked to coach, and I coached for about 4.5, 5 years, the team. So, I mean, some of my fondest experience really is taking and being part of an established debate program, right? and being able to take competitive debaters around at the varsity, junior varsity, novice level even, right? I started off obviously coaching the novices and moved up to coaching the varsity teams. And the teams that I ended up coaching really competitively, throughout the country, they remain very close friends of mine as well. So you mentioned, the beautiful thing is really about the friendships made, the family that you make. And those folks, I stay very close to this day, right? So that's really the important thing for me from a coach. My coaching experience, though, does span, right? So after I coached the high school team, there's a lot of time that I spent with the Newark Debate Academy and building up that program. But from then, I had a family of my own. I've got 3 kids and moved over to West Orange, which is still in Essex County, close enough to still feel kind of at home, but it's
I understand.
different, right? My kids started to attend the West Orange school system, which is it's a great school system. A lot of great kids, really from all different type of backgrounds, very diverse town, which is what I appreciate. But it doesn't have a debate program. It didn't have one, right? So I actually I worked toward trying to establish a debate program both in the middle school and the high school level. So I got a chance to coach them, right? So that's also it was a great experience of working with my kids and really something that I knew, or I think I know pretty well, and helping them be also competitive and letting them see the art of debate, which is really, less about argumentation and it's more about understanding everyone's side.
Okay. And so how was those transitions for you, moving from, student in science, NJIT, to a debate parent, to a debate, for a coach to a parent, how was that transition? Because this episode's all about full circle. So, the transitions are what get us through these moments of life, but how would you categorize them for yourself?
Well, it's a great question, really. It's hard to answer, right? Because when you're in the moment, I think I thought I was doing a good job as a coach when I was right out of high school. And in retrospect, I probably wasn't a great coach, right? You're coming right out of high school, the kind of things that you like to do. Someone like a Brent Fran, and my other coach was also like Roger Leon was my coach as well, right? And they had not just a wealth of knowledge. I think I had a lot of knowledge, but probably lacked a lot of wisdom, right? How to coach them through not just the debate chessboard, but really, the broader competition and understand what the activity is how it's going to impact them, moving forward, right? So the transition for me as kind of like coaching right away as I got out of high school was frankly very tactical, right? It was tactical. There's certain teams I was helping, and it was good, right? But the transition into becoming like a parent or one of the board members on the Newark Debate Academy, and then ultimately being kind of like a parent coach, is a broader, more strategic view of debate, how it impacts your life, how it impacts your critical decision making, and how it can help you in all facets, right? So my current career has nothing to do with debate, yet I feel like I use those skills every day.
Wow. Now that I always think is so interesting. It's not like anybody can be professional debaters for the rest of their lives, but the fact that debaters, and all students, all people really, find their niche in life, and find where they fit in, or where they're the most passionate about, and they make it work for them using those skills that you speak of, from debate. And I think it's so interesting, because I don't think none of us realized that when we were students. Of course, it takes life in order to make those connections.
Yeah, and I'll give you just kind of a side story on that, because I think you're hitting upon something that I found pretty interesting in my career. Is that when I left high school, I was coaching, so I still was in the competitive juices, right? And I studied computer science, which I love. And when I got out of university, I started working in software companies, doing effectively software support, software development. which was good, right? I knew it. I did it. I think I did it well, right? But for the longest time, something was missing, right? Something was missing. The juices weren't there. And for a bit, I was going along doing a lot of roles in software development kind of world. Kind of fast forward a number of years, I was being internally recruited to join the sales team at this software analytics company. And I had always rejected that move, right? Because to me, the sales folks were the folks who were lying, right? They were just trying to sell something. They were trying to get away with something. They were always, the dark side, if you will, right?
Yes.
And what happened was I avoided it for the longest time. Once I then decided, okay, let me give this a shot. The first thing that really happened was here's an opportunity again for me to win, right? How do you compete? How do you understand what your counterpart is trying to sell? How do you better understand what your customer needs, right? And it gives you an opportunity to really dig in deep. It's understand the between the lines of a cross-examination, right? How do I know what my competitor or my opponent is going to present after I leave the room? And that, entering the technical sales side, like rejuvenated my career, and in part because it reminded me so much about debate. So it kind of came full circle for me.
Wow. So let me ask you this, Chris. What would you say was the most challenging part of coaching?
The most challenging part of coaching. So if I talk a little bit more about my most recent coaching experience, right? So when I was coaching and starting up a new program, right? So I can really appreciate what the kind of like the younger programs do in the Newark Debate Academy and across the country, because there are just so many options for children these days, right? If you're a student in any kind of like big school, and my kids attended, large elementary schools and also West Orange High School, big school, right? A lot of options. Has a renowned music department, has a really good soccer program, and amongst a lot of other things, in addition to academic, extracurricular activities. So the big challenge I had really when I first started coaching is how do I retain a team? How do I create a sustainable program? And what I learned there was that in order to make that happen, the kids have to lead, right? The kids have to own the program. You've got to be a little bit lucky, I guess, in many ways, to have a set of students that will embrace it and own it, right? Because you could always have me as an external coach. You can have a teacher who acts as a liaison. But at the end of the day, the reason why it was kind of, it was easier to coach at Science High School at the time is because there was just so much culture and history, legacy at that organization that, I didn't realize how challenging it would be until I started to try to build a program on my own. Very difficult, right? So we really do need the kids to own the program, and lead the program.
Yes, no, I totally understand. I have started a program. I started a speech program a few years ago here at a school here in Newark. And so I know that feeling when you do feel like you are lucky, because you're like, yes, there are students who like this and want to and take it farther than myself. I love that. You know what I mean? So you don't, because it's like, what do they call it? It's like free advertisement, really, right? Because if they love it so much and do well and talk about it, of course they're going to inspire their classmates. Of course they're going to inspire someone who may have not even thought this was something for them to do it as well. And next thing you know, they're going to be really good, because they have the passion for it. So definitely understand what you're saying.
And they'll come back after they graduate and they'll do a little bit of coaching, a little bit of judging. They'll tell the stories that effectively starts to build the culture, right? So absolutely, they're key.
Exactly. And so would you have any advice for coaches out there who are looking to get started as coaches?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest advice to coaches now, knowing what I went through, is that number one, you got to kind of understand the conflict of so many options the kids have, right? You have to kind of like be ready to build a program and know that it's going to take, you know, some work to find those kids, right? And it might not happen the first year, right? It might not happen the second year, but eventually, you know, you're gonna kind of get lucky, find the right folks. The other thing that happens is I remember when I first tried to start the program, and I was pitching it, right? Because I wasn't even a parent at the time. I just moved to West Orange. I was saying, let me do something for the neighborhood. Let me try to do this. And when I was pitching the program to, I think then the chair of English at the high school, you know, her reaction was like, yeah, you know, we can get this into, you know, I know a lot of the AP students and, you know, who can really cling on to this and do this. And man, you know, some of the best kids, they're not in the AP classes, right? Some of the kids, they need to find their voice, need to voice their opinion, have a, you know, controversial view of something, right? And want to discuss it openly. I mean, you need those kids are all over the place, right? And it's really our job as coaches to find them, and eventually you'll nurture them and coach them, but to be patient and find them.
Yeah. Wow. And so, and before we shift gears, do you have any advice for parents looking to get involved a little bit more in debate?
Yeah, you know, it's some of the parents who, so I got a little bit lucky when I first started coaching my oldest son, right? His immediate friends they just latched on. So we had a little bit of a run for about 3 years of a good middle school debate team, right? Actually, we worked through the Newark Debate Academy. Then I think it was called the Jersey Urban Debate League. And we were actually one of the teams that went to the middle school national tournament, right? Through the NDA, right? The parents who supported it they were unbelievably supportive, trusted me with their kids, right? And you have to be able to be involved and not be involved strangely at the same time, right? You want to be able to be supportive of the program. In some cases, there's fundraising and boosting that has to be done to be able to support it. And then do what these parents did, right? Which is they trusted me, right? They trusted me. And in doing that, it gave me the flexibility to coach them at will, kind of pull out from their kids, you know, their kind of natural brilliance, right? But they got to trust me and let go once they get in front of me. But in the background, you know, do a lot of supportive tasks, right? And you know, that's what parents can do great.
Great. So shifting gears a bit, with school and debate and almost everything being 100% online this year, right?
Yeah.
How have you been affected by this pandemic, if at all?
So personally, been tremendously affected. So I'm in the software world, right? And my responsibilities, or my title, is actually field CTO, right? So my role is to really evangelize our technology, help our customers discover problems that we can help people with, and really, you know, let people know how we can help, right? I traveled everywhere. My responsibilities was global. I had a team in Asia, a team in Europe and in North America. I was on a plane every week, if not multiple times a week. And then when the pandemic hit and things got shut down in March of last year, I mean, it just went to a standstill in terms of traveling, right? So that was completely changed. And in addition to that, of course, internally at my home, you know, my wife had to work from home. All my kids have to work from home. My son, who's in university, he was on campus for a while, but also, you know, spends a lot of time at home now, right? So it's a lot of telecommuting, both from a professional and also academic standpoint. So that's been really impactful. And we've learned a lot of new things. We discovered gardening, right? We built a garden out of a spot that I thought was absolutely like weed infested. I'd never used again. So we made a lot of new discoveries, a lot more cooking and a lot more fun. But certainly we miss the social interactions of being with family and friends, and we're looking forward to getting back to that.
Wow, that's amazing. Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please further go into what specific skills were transferable from your debate experience from when you were a active competitor to a adult in the working world?
Yeah. So it's a great question, in particular because a lot of debaters or people think when they're looking at debaters, stereotypically think that this is go into social sciences or into legal or something of that sort, right? And I didn't. Right? I actually went into a technology career, right, in computer sciences and IT sciences, et cetera, data analytics. And really, like I mentioned before, if I haven't mentioned, what I found in debate was really, I enjoyed the competitive nature of it. And when I found the competition in my industry, it really kind of rejuvenated my career. But more importantly, really important in any kind of capacity, is the ability to kind of like read in between the lines, ask the right question. Sometimes, kind of what someone told me in my kind of like technical sales career, kind of later in my technical sales career, that sometimes the best question is a question unasked, right? So you have to be really clever about what kind of questions do you ask, because it's going to invoke some type of process and another thought process. And sometimes that's not always in your favor, right? So you want to ask the right questions. You don't want to ask wrong questions, right? So you get a lot of that in debate where you're doing a cross-examination, you're trying to find an answer, but you also don't want to ask a question that they can step on you with, right? So, clearly, the reading and the research and the application of what you've learned toward what you're doing is important. But I think there's a lot of just the everyday things that you figure out, just, be on time, be the last person out of the room, be able to react well, and, keep calm under fire. And when you're calm under fire, you think better, you think a little bit more clearly. I think it's applicable to frankly, any industry, any kind of career you end up taking.
Wow. I appreciate that. Thank you. And so have your tournaments, well, the tournaments have been online, excuse me, but how have those tournaments been for you?
Yeah, so from a coaching capacity, I don't coach right now, right? So I'm hoping to coach the third in line of my crew, right? Which is my daughter who's in middle school, but hopefully that happens sooner than later. But my older sons, right? One's a junior in high school and one's in university. They've actually been judging at some of the virtual tournaments, right? So very different, right? I think first and foremost, I think we're doing a pretty good job in the debate community to find ways to host these tournaments.
Yeah.
But, so I watch them judge, and the challenges are, especially for Newark debate and a lot of urban debate leagues, the access to information has gotten better, not totally, perfect, but it's gotten better. But the access to technology and broadband still very, very different, right? You'll have some kids who, by virtue of not being able to stand up in front of somebody and speak to them, by virtue of not having the right router, or we don't have the right kind of digital plans at home, their voice can be stifled now. So we got to be really careful with that, right? But I think we're doing a good job of trying to make this work. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to figure out a way to make sure everyone's voice is equally heard.